In a world obsessed with appearances and status, one man's worn-out boots became a symbol of silent strength and overlooked courage. Dismissed by his peers and forgotten by his superiors, he walked through the shadows of a military base unnoticed. Yet, when chaos struck and lives hung in the balance, those old boots carried more than weight, they carried a legacy. And in the moment that mattered most, his commander's salute transformed scorn into respect, revealing a hidden truth about honor, humility, and the true meaning of leadership. The sprawling military base of Knigfeld lay nestled against the rolling hills of southern Germany, a place where tradition and discipline intersected with the relentless demands of modern defense. It was a community bound tightly by duty, precision, and a deeply ingrained respect for order. Yet, beneath its polished exterior, subtle divisions lingered, often defined by rank, pedigree, and outward appearances. Among the hundreds who moved through the base's labyrinthine corridors, one figure was easy to overlook: Corporal Klaus Weber. His boots, scuffed and weathered beyond repair, told a story of relentless service years spent trudging through muddy fields, sweltering heat, and bitter winters. But for many of his younger comrades, those boots marked Klaus as a relic of a fading era, someone who had not kept pace with the slick new gear and polished image the base now prized. Klaus himself was a man shaped by decades of hard work, perseverance, and an unwavering sense of duty. At 48, he was neither young nor old, but belonged to that rare breed of soldiers whose experience carried the weight of countless missions and silent sacrifices. His hair, peppered with gray, framed a face creased by lines earned in moments of both hardship and quiet triumph. He moved steadily, deliberately, with a calmness that only comes from weathering storms most never saw. Despite his steadfast service, Klaus found himself increasingly marginalized. Younger soldiers, enamored with new technology and flashy uniforms, often dismissed him as old school, a man who clung to worn boots and outdated methods. They rarely invited him to their conversations and sometimes made offhand jokes about his frugality and lack of upgrading. To Klaus, these slights were nuisances, not wounds. He had learned to carry loneliness as a badge of honor. The base itself was a microcosm of the broader society where respect was earned, not just through rank, but through daily actions grounded in reliability and character. Klaus held fast to these values, but his world was shifting. The younger generation, though skilled and enthusiastic, sometimes lacked the depth of understanding that comes only with time and trial. They were driven by ambition, yet the base's culture risked losing touch with the quiet strength embodied by men like Klaus. The story unfolded in the months, leading to a crucial multinational training exercise, an event designed to showcase the base's operational excellence and test the readiness of its troops. Stakes were high. The exercise was not only a matter of national pride, but also a key factor in upcoming promotions and strategic evaluations. Everyone on base knew that performances here would shape careers, influence leadership decisions, and solidify alliances. Corporal Klaus Weber's role in this exercise was modest on paper. As a seasoned vehicle technician and logistics specialist, he was responsible for maintaining essential equipment, particularly the fleet of transport trucks that would ferry troops and supplies across simulated hostile terrain. His task was not glamorous, but it was vital. Without reliable vehicles, the entire operation could falter. Yet, as Klaus prepared for the exercise, he sensed an undercurrent of disregard from some officers and peers. His worn boots, a visible reminder of his humble beginnings and decades of service, seemed to symbolize his perceived obsolescence. "He's not keeping up," some whispered. "Maybe it's time for new blood." Others questioned why someone so set in old ways was still entrusted with critical responsibilities. Amidst this, the commanding officer, Colonel Dietrich Vogel, loomed large, a man revered for his impeccable record and exacting standards. His demeanor was stern but fair, and his expectations of discipline and excellence were unambiguous. While Colonel Vogel maintained a professional distance from most, he observed the dynamics on base keenly. He was aware that cohesion and morale could make or break any mission. Klaus admired Colonel Vogel from afar, recognizing the man's integrity and dedication. Yet, he doubted the commander knew much about him personally. In a world of fleeting impressions, Klaus's quiet reliability was invisible, overshadowed by flashy performances and youthful bravado. Meanwhile, Klaus's few close colleagues respected him deeply. Sergeant Anna Fischer, a pragmatic yet empathetic leader in the maintenance unit, often reminded younger soldiers to value the knowledge carried by veterans like Klaus. "Experience isn't just a number," she'd say. "It's the foundation of our strength." Yet, even Anna could not entirely shield Klaus from the shifting tides of perception. Beyond the base gates, the cultural context weighed heavily. German society prized ordnung order and structure and expected individuals to contribute through steadfast diligence and respect for rules. Klaus embodied these ideals, yet the modern military environment was increasingly influenced by efficiency metrics and technological prowess, sometimes at the expense of human judgment and humility. As the exercise approached, tensions grew. New recruits pushed their limits, eager to prove themselves. Veterans guarded their legacy, wary of being sidelined. Klaus felt the pressure not from a single source, but from a convergence of generational divides, institutional change, and personal resolve. In the quiet moments before deployment, Klaus took stock of his worn boots, scuffed from years of service, yes, but also etched with stories of resilience. Each mark was a testament to missions completed, obstacles overcome, and comrades supported in silence. His boots carried not just his weight, but the history of dedication that no promotion or shiny new gear could replace. The stage was set for an ordeal that would test not just machinery and tactics, but the very values at the heart of military service. Klaus Weber's journey would soon shift from the periphery of recognition to the center of honor, reminding all who watch that true strength often walks quietly, in worn boots, unseen but unyielding. As the multinational exercise drew closer, the base's atmosphere became charged with expectation and anxiety. The younger soldiers moved with an eager urgency, fueled by ambition and the knowledge that the coming weeks could make or break their careers. Klaus Weber found himself increasingly isolated amidst this swirl of energy, his quiet, methodical approach clashing with the frenetic pace embraced by many of his peers. Despite his proven track record, Klaus's outdated appearance especially, those battered boots made him an easy target for ridicule. His contributions, though critical, were often overlooked or dismissed as relics of a bygone era. The younger technicians whispered about his slow pace, and rumors circulated that Klaus was holding the unit back. Some openly questioned why someone so old-fashioned was still entrusted with important maintenance tasks. Suddenly, the simulation shifted to chaos. The convoy's vehicle stalled, and the extraction routes closed as a simulated landslide blocked the primary path. The young officers scrambled for alternatives, their confident veneer cracking. Under pressure, panic murmured beneath their disciplined facades. Amid the turmoil, Klaus stepped forward not with loud commands or aggressive gestures, but with calm, deliberate clarity. He proposed a secondary evacuation route known only to veterans of the region, a narrow, winding trail seldom used, but capable of bypassing the obstruction. The plan required precision and trust. Captain Reinhardt, watching warily from the command post, hesitated before nodding assent. The mission's success now hinged on Klaus's knowledge, the very wisdom many had dismissed as outdated. As the team mobilized, Klaus took charge of the lead vehicle, his steady hands guiding the convoy through the precarious path. The younger soldiers followed, tension mounting with every twist and turn. A misstep could mean disaster. Halfway through the maneuver, disaster nearly struck. A simulated aftershock loosened rocks onto the path, threatening to trap the convoy. The soldiers froze until Klaus reacted, swiftly coordinating with the team to stabilize the vehicles and clear the debris. His leadership under pressure silenced doubts and sparked newfound respect. Meanwhile, in the command tent, Commander Muller, a stern yet fair officer with decades of service, observed the unfolding events with quiet intensity. She recalled her initial skepticism about Klaus, recalling his worn boots and old-school methods. But now, watching his calm decisiveness, she understood the depth of his value. At the peak of the simulation, the unexpected twist arrived. An emergency broadcast announced a real-world crisis. A nearby village had suffered a flood. and immediate assistance was requested. The exercise was abruptly suspended, and the unit scrambled to redeploy. Klaus volunteered for the first rescue mission, leveraging his intimate knowledge of the local terrain and decades of experience. His old boots, once mocked, now bore the weight of responsibility and hope. As Klaus and his team navigated the floodwaters, radio chatter crackled with updates. His communication was clear, concise, a beacon amid chaos. He guided rescue boats, coordinated medical teams, and ensured the safe evacuation of stranded civilians. Back at base, word spread rapidly. The young soldiers, who had dismissed Klaus, watched with a mix of awe and humility, as their comrades saved lives with a quiet strength that no rank or uniform could convey. In the aftermath, a formal ceremony was called to honor the unit's efforts. Klaus stood among the officers and soldiers, his presence understated, but commanding respect. Commander Muller approached, her gaze steady and warm. "Sergeant Klaus Weber," she began, her voice carrying through the hall, "your dedication, knowledge, and courage have saved lives and restored honor to this unit. You remind us all that true leadership is not measured by appearance or age, but by character and action." The room fell silent, the earlier murmurs of doubt replaced by genuine admiration. Then, in a moment that shocked everyone, the commander reached down and touched Klaus's worn boots, a symbol of his journey, and gave him a crisp, respectful salute. Klaus returned it, not with pride, but with quiet dignity. His eyes met those of the younger soldiers, who now saw not an old man with outdated gear, but a living legend whose boots had walked the hard path of sacrifice and service. The twist deepened when, during the ceremony, Klaus was revealed to have been a decorated war veteran, a master technician who had maintained critical equipment under fire, and a mentor to many now rising stars. His invisibility had been a choice humility grounded in decades of hard-earned wisdom. The younger soldiers who had mocked him were humbled, some approaching him afterward with apologies and newfound respect. The cultural divide had been bridged by the undeniable power of quiet courage and unwavering integrity. The climax closed with Klaus sharing a few words not of triumph, but of hope that the future of the military would honor every contribution, visible or hidden, and that dignity transcended all appearances. The echo of Commander Muller's salute lingered in the air, a symbol not just of military protocol, but of deep recognition of respect earned through years of sacrifice, humility, and steadfast commitment. Klaus Weber's worn boots, once mocked and dismissed, had become a quiet emblem of resilience and honor. Yet the ceremony was more than a personal vindication. It marked a turning point for the entire unit, a recalibration of values that resonated far beyond the polished walls of the base. In the days that followed, the atmosphere shifted noticeably. The junior soldiers, who had once whispered behind Klaus's back, now sought his counsel. They approached with tentative respect, eager to learn the lessons embedded in his stories and actions. There was no grandiose hero worship, only genuine acknowledgement of a man who had lived the principles they aspired to embody. Klaus, for his part, remained grounded. He shared his knowledge willingly but without arrogance. His voice, calm and measured, carried the weight of experience, reminding the unit that strength was often found in patience and perseverance, not just in loud declarations or flashy displays. The unit's leadership took note as well. Commander Muller initiated changes to the training program, embedding lessons on humility, teamwork, and respect for all ranks, principles that had often been overshadowed by ambition and hierarchy. She emphasized the value of diverse experience, ensuring that veterans like Klaus were integrated as mentors, not sidelined as relics. Accountability became a cornerstone of this new culture. Soldiers were encouraged to challenge prejudices and confront dismissive attitudes, fostering an environment where respect was not automatically granted by rank or youth, but was continually earned through conduct and character. Klaus's story also reached beyond the base, shared quietly through military circles and local communities. It became a narrative of redemption not just for him, but for those who had judged too hastily, a reminder that appearances can deceive, and that every member of a team carries a vital piece of the whole. At home, Klaus found renewed purpose, his family, who had long admired his quiet dedication from afar, now saw him with fresh eyes, proud not only of his accomplishments, but of the dignity with which he had faced adversity. Conversations that had once skirted around his work became heartfelt exchanges about legacy, sacrifice, and the true meaning of service. Despite the recognition, Klaus remained humble. He understood that the journey toward respect was ongoing. Quiet strength was not a destination, but a daily practice, choosing integrity over convenience, patience over pride, and service over self. The younger soldiers carried this lesson into their own careers. Many spoke of Klaus as a beacon of steadiness, someone who reminded them that courage is not always about bold action, but often about the consistency of character in the face of challenge. Months later, during a gathering to mark the anniversary of the rescue operation, Klaus was invited to speak. He stood before the assembled troops and officers, his presence calm and unassuming. With a voice steady but warm, he said, "Respect is not a gift we give lightly. It is built in the quiet moments when no one is watching, and the choices we make, the hands we offer, and the humility with which we serve. I wear these boots not because they are new or flashy, but because they have carried me through storms of all kinds. Let us remember that every person here carries a story, a burden, and a strength. Our mission is not just to lead, but to listen, to learn, and to honor those who walk beside us." However quietly, his words resonated deeply, not as a lecture, but as a shared truth. In that moment, the division between old and new, young and experienced, blurred into a collective commitment to a more inclusive, respectful future. Outside the base, Klaus often returned to the mountains where the final exercise had unfolded. The rugged paths, once a backdrop to tension and doubt, now held memories of triumph and transformation. Walking those trails, he reflected on the power of patience and the necessity of quiet courage. The worn leather of his boots creaked softly, a sound no longer of neglect, but of endurance. In the broader community, Klaus became a symbol not of celebrity, but of authenticity. His story was told in schools, community centers, and family gatherings, inspiring a new generation to value diligence, respect, and the unseen work that keeps society moving forward. For Klaus, the true victory was the restoration of dignity, not only his own, but that of all who had ever been overlooked or underestimated. His journey affirmed a universal truth, that respect grounded in accountability and quiet strength transcends appearance and age, enriching the very fabric of community and service. As the seasons changed and the base evolved, Klaus continued his role not as a forgotten relic, but as a cornerstone of wisdom and integrity. His boots, once scorned, now stood proudly as silent testimony to a life lived with honor. And somewhere, in the soft rustle of the mountain winds, the echoes of his footsteps whispered a message that the greatest journeys are not measured in miles or medals, but in the unwavering commitment to walk with dignity every step of the way. As Klaus's story shows us, true strength is often quiet, carried not in flashy uniforms or new boots, but in resilience, humility, and unwavering dedication. It reminds us that every person, no matter their role or appearance, deserves respect and recognition for the battles they've fought and the integrity they uphold. Take a moment to reflect. How often do we overlook those who serve faithfully behind the scenes? How can we choose to see beyond surface judgments and honor the quiet courage that sustains us all? If Klaus's journey moved you, please comment the word below, a powerful symbol of dignity, respect, and the courage to stand tall without needing to be seen. Together, let's lift up the unseen heroes in our lives and communities. Their stories matter, their strength shapes our world.